You are now listening to The Box Out with Kahlil Thomas and Jason Kahlil on the One Podcast Network. Let's get it.
From NJ to BK World, this is The Box Out on the One Podcast Network. My name is Kahlil Thomas. Joining me in a few minutes will be Jason Kahlil from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so much for watching, whether it be live or later, like tonight or tomorrow, or our next show, Thursday night, because we're doing 2 in a week. So there you go. A lot to talk about. Jason will be in a second. And we talked about how when the WNBA got their collective bargain agreement completed, how it would be a mad dash from the end of the agreement or the beginning of the agreement to the regular season in May. And I have a stack of papers on my desk that tells you that it's been craziness for last week. So we had free agency that started last week. We had the WNBA draft that was last night. So a lot to get to, a lot of moves that were made, especially last night during the draft. There was one trade that kind of threw me for a loop. I know threw a lot of people for a loop. It was a good trade, but kind of shocked a few people. So let's get right into it. I know Bruce on his show, Armchairing on Wednesday nights here on One Podcast Network, talked about Angel Reese being traded from Chicago to Atlanta. I can't say I was surprised. I can't say I was shocked. Angel Reese did not like her time in Chicago very much towards the end. She made it clear she wanted to win. I think when they had Teresa Witherspoon coaching the team, I think the team had an edge. The team played harder. It seemed like there was more heart. When they let Teaspoon go, I kind of felt like they lost that heart a little bit when she left. I also feel that Spoon's demeanor, her attitude, the way she coached really fit what Angel Reese not just needed as a rookie in the WNBA, but has a similar personality to Kim Mulkey, who coached her at LSU. So I think Spoon with Reese made sense. And I think Angel Reese felt that last year after Witherspoon was fired as head coach of the Sky. And she voiced her displeasure. And she was not happy with the situation, what was going on. But in the end, she got her way, and she goes to a stacked Atlanta Dream team that we'll talk about a little bit later, the roster and how they've kind of configured it to be, I think, I don't want to say a dark horse, because I think the roster they have, when you include Angel Reese and Ryan Howard and Jordan Canada, you're looking at a top 5 team. And honestly, I think if everything comes together for Atlanta, you're looking at a top 3 team in the league. But we'll get into them a little bit later. So that was the first big move that happened the other day. And the other big move that happened really early in free agency was Vegas essentially saying, we're going to run it back with everybody. And said, Jackie Young's going to come back. A'ja Wilson says she has no intention of going anyplace else. She's staying in Vegas, so she's going to come back. So the question became, you're bringing everybody back. You're run it back with your 3 stars. Who's taking a pay cut? Because based on, and you almost compare it to the NBA and how the NBA, from their last CBA and how they kind of wrote it, you can't put 3 stars on a team like you used to do in the NBA, right? Think of LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Miami. You think of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden in Brooklyn. The NBA, you really can't do that. The WNBA kind of made it tough too, and you saw it. Vegas had their 3. The Liberty had their 3, right? Almost going back to the days of the Houston Comets when you had, Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops. The league made it very difficult now in this new CBA to stack a super team, meaning someone would have to take a pay cut. Of those 3 that you have, someone's going to take less money. I know for damn sure ain't going to be A'ja Wilson, but Jackie Young, she's coming back on a 1-year contract at the regular max, which is $1.19 million. So she's back in Vegas. And here's where Atlanta started getting hot after the Angel Reese deal, the trade. Alicia Gray, she is she's going to Atlanta 3 years, $3.7 million over 3 years. And then Brianna Jones, multi-year deal to come back to Atlanta. So right there, in a span of 2 days, you had Angel Reese coming to Atlanta. You had Alicia Gray. You had Brianna Jones to already go with Ryan Howard. That's 4 right now you got on that team. Not saying that Brianna Jones is going to light the world on fire, but she's a good hand. Alicia Gray, good hand. She can give you 15 points in a clip like that, so it could happen. Here's where it got weird for me. So we had the expansion draft. What's it, last week? 2 weeks ago, sorry. And the Toronto Tempo, Portland Fire, had their expansion draft, picked their players. First of all, it was a weird telecast on ESPN. Like, expansion draft, the way I remember it, teams would announce their picks one by one and go, the Florida Marlins select so-and-so, the Colorado Rockies select so-and-so, the Miami Heat select so-and-so, the Orlando Magic select. That's how I grew up watching expansion drafts, right? You knew who was unprotected ahead of time. And it was almost a pageantry of watching the teams make their picks from those unprotected players, and to see what unprotected players are out there and see, oh my God, Rick Mahorn's out there. Rick Mahorn might get picked up by somebody. They didn't do that with this expansion draft. It was kind of depressing, to be honest, because there was no oomph to it. As I welcome to Jason Court. What's going on, bro?
Not much. Very lackluster draft, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
not the last night draft, but the expansion draft for sure.
Yeah, because I was used to watching like the old school drafts where you're like, so and so picked this person, and it kind of went one by one, person by person. And we didn't have that. They said, "Here's the roster of who they picked." I'm like, "That's it." Yeah, that's all we got. And it was a Friday afternoon. I had to run back home from Legoland up in Goshen to watch the shit. But whatever. But Toronto picked up Marina Mabry, and that was the pick that scared me. And I think I talked to Bruce on X and sent a message. We've done this show for years, and I feel like the last 3 or 4 years, Marina Mabry's been a name that we mentioned quite often.
Yep, yes, indeed.
Always have issues, always have a problem. Now she owns an expansion team, a young team. If you were the general manager of Toronto Tempo, would you have picked up Marina Mabry?
I wouldn't have done it. I would have sent her to maybe to revamp Seattle or
Siberia.
I would send her to Siberia or somewhere else. I wouldn't have sent her to Toronto because Toronto's gonna be nothing but young, up and coming talent. Where I don't know if her mindset is gonna fit in that. It's Draymond all over again.
Well, it's funny because I was reading. I printed out all the stuff, and here's what ESPN said So it was Marina Mabry and Brittany Sykes. They agreed to terms to join Toronto, so she's going to stay with Toronto. With each agreeing to 2-year deals at about the max this year, they are the first known, and this was last week, the first known $1 million backcourt pairing under the new WNBA CBA. Mabry's contract is 2 years, $2.4 million. She gets 1.2 this year and 1.2 next year. I get you want to make a splash. You want good players. You need names. Your expansion team, you need names. Golden State didn't have a lot of names last year. But Toronto, the franchise, you want to make a splash. But Marina Mabry, because she's the face of the franchise, for lack of a better, she's the face of the franchise. I know Kia Nurse signed with them today, and she's from Canada, so I think she's kind of the de facto face because she's Canadian. But is Marina Mabry one of the faces you want representing your franchise right now?
I wouldn't, but you got to look at what's out there, what was out there. So if they needed somebody, especially now you're entering Canadian borders, why not? Throw them a bone. Shout out to them because I believe they sold out season tickets just like the Golden State team did. Mm-hmm. So everything's on the up and up for the Toronto Tempo.
We'll see.
No pun intended.
Until Mabry decides to complain and moan about something that's happening.
I mean, even with getting paid, you think they'll still complain? I think they're all right.
Thing I want to talk about was Los Angeles, and there was kind of like a sweepstakes for Nneka Ogwumike when free agency started. She went to Seattle and she made a couple of visits to Minnesota, and people were like, okay, she ain't staying in Seattle. We know that much. Where's she going? She ends up going back to the Sparks where she started her career. Good move, bad move, or is this one of those things where it's like, you know what? Year 13, year 14, I want to end it where I started.
I think it's a little bit of all of the above. I think it's one of those things where, like, she had a market, but then she didn't have a market, whereas, Dallas, an Atlanta, a Connecticut heading to Houston wasn't going to take her. So it might as well go back to your roots and help that young core. It's not really the young core. It's a good mixture of young and vets. So you might as well go back to LA, get the money, and finish your career where it started.
But and this is my issue. I talk about LA a lot every year.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at their roster, and you have Cameron Brink, who's coming back,
Mm-hmm.
who's coming back from returning from ACL. And then you have Ogwumike. They re-signed De'Ara Hamby. You got Erica Wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
Rutgers, what's up? Kelsey Plum re-signed, come back.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the draft picks they got last year. Ray Burrell, who's going her third season. It feels like we're at this point again with LA where they don't know what they are. Are they a veteran team competing for a championship? Are they a rebuilding team with a few pieces? Or are you this mishmash of like, we got a lot of vets, we got some young guys, we're gonna merge them all together and just see what happens? It doesn't work that way.
I think their stealing. I think in their minds, their stealing is we can do what the Phoenix did last year, where it was a mixed mash, but hey, we almost made it to the WNBA finals. So I think that's their mindset going in.
I'm still confused with what LA's trying to do and what their overall strategy is on what their end game is. I talked about the Aces earlier. They say they're running it back. Gray, Asia, Jackie Young, they're coming back. Can the Aces repeat? Are we at that point where we have this big three, which the WNBA is trying to cut out? They're trying to do what the NBA did and make it difficult to have a three-head monster.
Uh-huh.
Or you have teams like Atlanta. You have the Liberty, who we're talking about in a second. It has the rest of the league kind of caught up to Vegas at this point, even though they did win the title last year.
I think so. In all honesty, I think they won the title last year because Minnesota fell apart. And I think Minnesota will be in contention. I think Dallas will be in contention, the Liberty will be in contention. I think there'll be more contenders this year, per se, as the Aces keep running it back, they're not getting any younger. So I will say I think the field's caught up to them a little bit.
So one of the teams that I think might catch them is Dallas. However,
can we call Dallas UConn South? I guess
UConn South. UConn South. I like that. So they drafted AZ Flood last night, number 1 overall, to pair her up with Paige Beckers. They re-signed Ogwumike to a multi-year deal. I'm of the mind, and I know Bruce said this in his show and he said it in our chat a few times, that Ogwumike and Beckers, it doesn't seem to work and work together and play together. Now you have AZ Fudd, who needs the ball in her hands too.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have Beckers, who needs the ball, you have Ogwumike who needs the ball, and you have AZ who needs the ball. Why would you re-sign Ogwumike, even though she could drop 50 when you least expect it, and she's Vinnie Johnson from 1988, but was re-signing her and kind of using that money a good investment with this team that, if you look at their roster, they're flooded with guards now.
Sounds like a move might be made down the line, but I think she's like you said, she's a sniper. She's an all-world player, so you want to keep that there in your back chamber in case something down the pipeline occurs where you make a move. But I think we're gonna give this half the season to see what happens. I think they can work it out. I think if they play a lot of small ball, they can really do a lot of damage in the league. So we'll see how it plays out.
I just find it odd that you have so many guards. And like you said, UConn South.
Not even that. I was just thinking about the old Chris Mullin, Mitch Richmond, Tim Hardaway. Can we get can we run that here in Dallas? Can we? Maybe.
Yeah, but Chris Mullin was like 6'7". I feel like you have Becker's Ogwumike and Fudd are probably the same size. Becker's a little taller than them. I feel like
right.
And in that situation, I mean, obviously, Chris Mullin beat Paige Beckers for obvious reasons. But who would be Hardaway? Who would be Mitch Richmond?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one,
right? I was like, I thought you could compensate. I think Ogwumike would be Tim Hardaway?
Oh, for sure.
Mitch Richmond, but Ogwumike can shoot better than Fudd, I think.
Yes.
So I don't know. Maybe Mitch Richmond, because Mitch Richmond was a sharpshooter of the team. Well, Chris Mullin shot. Yeah. I don't know. I got to think about this shit till Thursday, our next show. I have a whole chart in front of me for this. Talked about the Liberty. They signed Satou Sabally, multi-year deal. So they kind of franchise tagged, which is not what they call in WNBA, but I'm going to call it the franchise tag. Sabrina Ionescu. Stewie says she's coming back. Nneka Jones is coming back. Now you have Satou Sabally. How does this move? And the Liberty is the favorite to win the title now, plus 250. Are they real favorites with Sabally now? Or do you see a hole somewhere that they might have to fill?
They still losing Natasha Cloud. I still think they need somebody in that backcourt. They need somebody going to come off the bench and give you something, because now your starting five is loaded. But after that, what's your depth look like? So I think depth and nutrition is probably going to be their downfall if they don't make it to the WNBA Finals. But I like this. I like the front court. They're going to definitely control the boards and do the thing. But I just think their backcourt, Sabrina alone may not be enough, especially against a Dallas, an Atlanta, an Indiana. But we'll see.
And they made a couple little moves. They brought back Rebecca Allen, who played for them for years. They brought her back. Johannes is coming back. But those aren't the names you thought off the bench. You can't really lean on Rebecca Allen. You can't really lean on Johannes. But Nigelene Hamilton, she's hurt, suspended. We don't know what her situation will be for the summer. For the summer. Is there enough money to make a move? I think that's the problem now, too, because you brought back all three of them and you added Sabally to the mix. I also have an issue with, can Sabally and Nneka Jones play together? Because similar games, they play down low. Will they get in each other's way? Can it be a problem? So I think, and Sabally can step out and shoot, which I think alleviates a little bit of that problem. But a lot of rebounding, but it's going to be a lot of standing around and a lot of bumping into each other because they're both trying to get position in the post.
Yeah, it's definitely good. It's going to be an adjustment. It's going to be an adjustment period. We'll see.
I'm just very curious about this. I'm talking about Atlanta, Ryan Howard. I'm going to bring up the whole roster because I looked at the roster before the show and I'm like, damn, they're going to be good. It's like a quick rebuild. Angel Reese going, which was not a shock. Angel Reese getting traded because she was very unhappy in Chicago. But they signed Jordan Canada, brought back Alicia Gray. Ryan Howard came back. Brianna Jones signed with them. Angel Reese is there. You look at a team. I mean, you Reese, Howard, Gray is your top three. Jordan Canada is your point, kind of running the show. How good can this Atlanta team be, especially with Angel Reese probably more motivated than she's ever been?
I think they're gonna be really good. I think we saw the signs late last season, and now you revamped the roster a little bit, and you have some veteran dogs. I think they're gonna be really good. I think them and Dallas will be the most improved teams in the league.
Not my mic down. Yeah, I mean Dallas, Atlanta. Each team has their own holes. I think we talk about depth with the Liberty. I think the same thing kind of is going to apply to Atlanta. I think they're lacking a lot of depth. Once you get past those top four players, kind of like Liberty, it fades out. And Liberty also lost Isabel Harrison, which I forgot about too, who I think could be this year's Kennedy Burke. Sorry, not Ken. She played with Golden State last year. What was her name? Oh God.
I think you're talking about the one who you.
I'm having a brain fart. But I think she could be this year's. I'm looking it up because I cannot go to this whole show without knowing her name. Kayla Thornton, that was the name.
Yes, Thornton.
So I think Isabel Harrison could be this year's Kayla Thornton. So I don't know. I have a lot of issues with the Liberty letting people go. And listen, I feel like when you had Bosch, when you had LeBron, when you had Dwayne Wade, people were willing to take pay cuts.
There you go.
To play with that. Mike Miller took a pay cut every year to just be there. The Liberty go like, hey, you want to play with Stewie? You want to play Sabrina? We got Satou. Take $500,000.
But to be fair, this is the first year of the new CBA. Everybody kind of wants to get paid.
Well, yeah, valid point. Phoenix brings back Alyssa Thompson, Kalia Copper, DeWanna Bonner, and Sammy Whitcomb, which is essentially the starting five of your local 55 and over community. Is Phoenix even trying to compete, or it is like let's just kind of run it back and see what happens?
I think Phoenix. DC did get. I did like what the Mystics picked up in the draft. I think those teams are like, hey, listen, there's going to be a lot of infusion of youth coming in the league. Why not be the forefront of it? So I think that's for Phoenix. I think that's for the Mystics. I think that's their mindset going into the next couple of seasons. We're already tanking for what's the name?
For Juju?
For Juju. We're tanking for Juju.
So real quick, I gotta do this. And I know it's mean. DeWanna Bonner, year 15. Kalia Copper, year 9. Alyssa Thomas, year 11, which might as well be year 15 because how hard she played in Connecticut. Sammy Whitcomb, year 8. So your 4 top players, 8 years or more in the league.
Let's talk about vets.
Shit, that's the all WNBA team. That's a 30-year team. You should come out with the jackets like they did for the 50 team. Jewel Lloyd also signed with the Aces as well. So now you have those 3 with Jewel Lloyd. 3-year, $2.2 million contract. Her star's kind of fallen since she left Seattle. Mm-hmm. Could she be that missing Kelsey? I know I keep saying missing pieces, and they won the championship. We know they won the championship last season. We got it.
But she could be that infusion of fresh blood that could give you something.
I think, and last year the question was always, especially at the beginning, was Kelsey Plum leaving a problem? Does Jewel Lloyd become that Kelsey Plum that they were missing in that early part? They adjusted, but early on, it seemed like that scoring was missing. Is Jewel Lloyd that piece, you think?
Yeah, people forget the Aces didn't. They started slow at the beginning last year, and they really turned it on as the season progressed. But I think she would definitely fill in the void. Definitely filling that void that Kelsey had in the beginning.
So we had the draft last night as well. Obviously, AZ Fudd, number 1 pick, goes to Dallas. Number 2, Olivia Miles. Listen, I watched her play live, and I love how she plays. I love the way she distributes the ball. Her shot needs a little bit of work. I think she dribbles a little too much. But for Minnesota, getting a point guard that they've been missing, and not like you have really good point guards on the bench, right? Williams off the bench is a great point guard. Courtney Williams is also off the bench, but she's not a starting point guard. How big is this move for Minnesota to have Olivia Miles more than likely playing next to a perennial MVP every single night?
It's huge. It kind of reminds me of Sam Cassell in his first 2 years with the Houston Rockets, which ironically was championship years. So it kind of reminds me of that when you got the vet, you got the MVP vet, and now you're gonna have this freshman, young point guard coming in, and she's gonna just dominate. And I just think that was the perfect landing spot for her. Had she gone LA, had she gone even Dallas or somewhere else, she would not have gotten that tutelage. Now she's going to a championship caliber team where she's going to learn and she's going to grow, and it's going to be an asset for them.
I want to talk about the Mystics. They got Lauren Betts, number 4 last night. They had 6 draft picks. I think they hit on all of them. I think Betts with 4. Flau'jae went 9 also. So you had 2 UCLA. By the way, shout out to UCLA. 6 players picked in the draft, the most ever from one school. So shout out to UCLA. All 6 seniors, they all played, scored all their points, and they got to the Final Four, essentially.
Yeah.
I love them. They got McMahon from Ole Miss. They got Prosper from Notre Dame at 19, which I thought like Prosper would be at least the top 15, top 10 pick.
Yeah.
And to think that the Mystics, and we'll talk about the Bulls later, the Mystics fired everybody and said, all right, coach, you're taking over. You're president of the team and coaching. 6 draft picks, and she hit on 4. The other 2, not really sure, because a Baylor pick and a Texas pick, the way Texas played against UCLA, all their stock is down in Texas right now. Every single player on Texas. But, the Mystics was a rebuild. I think ever since Elena Delle Donne retired, they've been in this wilderness of just like, what are we? Who are we? How fast can this team kind of pick it up and compete again with Lauren Betts leading the way?
Definitely, they could turn it around. They could be not to say that they could be like the Valkyries, but they could turn this around where they're competing for a playoff spot. And I think that should be their objective this year. They got a lot of young talent. Let's see who can play. Let's see how the team meshes out. But I think their ceiling is definitely trying to make the playoffs.
So I'm looking at the grades that ESPN gave the teams. Indiana, and I'm looking at the roster.
They got a C.
They got a B+, which I'm trying to figure out why. Because if you look at their roster, and I'll bring it up real quick, it is, even before the draft last night, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guards on the roster before last night. And they drafted 3 more guards. They're gonna have 8 guards on the roster going in training camp. You don't have a lot of size. You have Aaliyah Boston. You could play Lexi Hull at the forward, but I feel like she's better at the guard. You could play Sophie Cunningham at a forward spot, but she's kind of undersized too. I don't know how they had a B+. I think this was a terrible pick when you need size. And said, let's go with the guards.
And you're playing one of the best guards in the league. You're not getting a lot of touches.
No. And I thought, was it a depth move? Was it because you look at Indiana, they got Raven Johnson, number 10. Mm-hmm. The next pick was Cody McMahon from Ole Miss. The next pick was Nell from France. The pick after that was Okot, the center from South Carolina. So you had options. You could have got Okot, added more size, and you probably could have combined Okot with Aaliyah Boston and just create this twin tower in Indiana. Instead, you get 3 guards. I'm trying to figure out the pick.
They were not thinking straight.
Chicago got Gabriela Jaquez, the sister of Jaime Jaquez. So she, the UCLA player, she goes to Chicago, who is finding themselves after trading Angel Reese. Kiki Rice went to Toronto. She's going to be leading the way. So it's going to be Kiki and Marina. That should be a backcourt. I think Kiki starts. I know they said you have $1 million backcourt, but I think it's Kiki and Marina has your 2 guards. Do you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
Lock them in.
The news of the night came at number 8. Golden State selected Flau'jae Johnson from LSU. Mm-hmm. I hated seeing Kim Mulkey front row, but that's just me. 15, 20 minutes later, she gets traded to Seattle. So
that was hilarious.
The whole family got the Seattle hats. It's like, oh shit, put them on.
Speaking of coaches, how happy were you that Gino wasn't there?
Oh God. Well, actually, we haven't done a show since that whole thing. I just thought about that. What were your thoughts on the whole Gino Dawn thing? Because I know how I felt. How did you feel?
I felt like he got his ass whooped, and he just lost his shit for like 5 seconds. he went straight. He went straight Howard Stern for 5 seconds. Like, you didn't shake my hand. I'm like, bitch, There's footage of you doing the whole dapping at the beginning of the game.
You dapped at the beginning. Then he goes to half court and waits. So I'm like, what is he waiting for? Like, I've never seen after introductions coaches go to midcourt and shake hands again. I don't know what he's talking about because I watched the post-game press conference. I don't know what he was talking about with, tradition is we go to center court after the introductions and we just bullshit some more. I'm like, I've never seen that. I don't care. And the reporter in there, yeah, coach. I remember. No, you're kissing his ass at that point. Mm-hmm. I've never in my life saw coaches, they dap up doing warm-ups and like, hey, how you doing? How's the family? After introductions, you're giving your final instructions to your team. I've never in my life of watching basketball, covering basketball, seen coaches after the introduction go to center court to talk fucking more. I've never seen it. So what is he talking about?
It was the first loss. He hasn't lost in a while. It's been almost 2 calendar years. He just lost it for a hot second. Might have fucked up a little bit of recruiting next year, but he lost it for a hot second.
It is that was some crazy shit watching that. I'm like, this motherfucker just went off.
And it always looks worse when it's a man doing it to a woman.
And credit to Dawn Staley. She was like, you know what? She was pissed. Post game, Dawn about to lose it. Dawn's like, talk to him. I'm not going to talk to him. He got his reasons why. And I think the press conference made him look even worse.
Yeah, because he doubled down on his antics.
And then, which made it even worse, he apologized to the staff of South Carolina the next day, not to Dawn. He apologized to Dawn like 3 days later. So the next day, when you look like an asshole, you apologize to the assistant coaches and the staff of South Carolina, but didn't mention Dawn. So you look more like a douchebag.
He was standing on business. He's probably thinking about the whole Suns going down to Houston to become the Comets again. He had a lot on his mind in that hot second.
I was like,
it wasn't just a loss for him. It was a loss for the state of Connecticut. I get it.
Listen, I watched the Hartford Whale documentary the other night. They've had a tough 25 years.
They're like Oakland. Hold our beer.
Wait, and the Islanders minor league affiliate is moving from Bridgeport to Hamilton. So they're losing another team. I'm like, damn. They got no luck in Connecticut.
They better hope those WWE house shows keep rolling in.
Oh my God. So Johnson goes to Seattle. Seattle could be sneaky good because you have Dominique Malonga, who they drafted last year, 6'6" forward center. Flau'jae Johnson's there. Natasha Heidemann, who I think is a really good bench piece for them with some experience. Stephanie Dawson's going to go back there. I think Stephanie Dawson has that to work with Malonga, to work with other younger forwards. Lexi Brown's going back. So I think maybe not right now, but I think 2-3 years, I think Seattle could start making some noise in the Western Conference too.
I agree. They're still rebuilding, but they're doing it the smart way. And they're still trying to be competitive at the same time.
Atlanta picks up Medina Okot from South Carolina. We saw how she played in the tournament, especially in Final Four. Tiana Meyer went to Seattle, so they got another guard in Seattle. Gianna Neepkins went to Connecticut, soon to be the Houston Comets. How excited were you when you got that news that our dream is coming true, that Connecticut is gone forever, but the Houston Comets comes back?
The sun has set in Connecticut. And a comet has arrived. The comet has finally come back.
I love that.
It's a beautiful day, and I'm glad that we're bringing back all the records, the nostalgia. The folks in Houston should be very happy. They're probably going to beat the Rockets. Are probably going to beat the Lakers in the first round, and then the Comets are coming back next year. So
there was a tweet from Bill Simmons. I want to find it because obviously it's not an expansion team, but Connecticut's moving, and then the board of directors approve the 3 new expansion teams. And he had a tweet a couple days ago, and I want to find it because he kind of shit on the expansion.
Ooh.
Here we go. So WNBA and Board of Governors of NBA approved Cleveland, Detroit, and Philly. Cleveland starts in 2028, Detroit in 2029, Philly in 2030, as we kind of expected.
Mm-hmm.
Simmons said staggeringly stupid and an unapologetic money grab that will immediately make the league worse. You can't just frantically add new teams like fast food franchises the moment you have a little success. We have 7 decades of evidence. Build slowly and smartly. This isn't smart.
Normally, I would agree with him, but I want to use the NBA for a prime example, and he kind of said it too on his last podcast. Whereas Orlando kind of jacked everybody's playoff plans for this week. Like, I thought the Knicks were sure going to play Toronto, and I was 99% sure Orlando would have beat the Celtics C team. But the way the C team handled it to Orlando, it only proves a theory I'm starting to believe is there's very few scrubs in the NBA. And I think if you look at the WNBA, especially for the last 3 to 4 years, and then you look at the projected class coming in and just how women's basketball is evolving, especially with the NCAA tournament, you would say the last 4 or 5 tournaments have been very compelling for the women's college basketball. So with that, I would say the talent pool is getting better. And to me, they're more soundly skilled than the men counterpart. So I think the league in overall it's only going to get better. So I don't think I think yes, you dabble in success now, and you get these franchises and you secure them, especially whereas those teams are going to come in when the next CBA comes in. It's a win-win. I think the WNBA going forward will be fine.
Yeah,
but I think you stop. I do think you stop at this though. You stop with these 3 franchises.
Yeah, I think after what was the order again? I gotta look that up real quick. The order was Cleveland 28, Detroit 29, Philadelphia 30. So that's 3. You got these Portland, Toronto. Was there another team coming in? Did I miss one?
No, but we just got Portland, Toronto this year. We got Golden State last year. So that's 3.
Okay, that's 3.
That's even 6. That's 6. Yeah.
So you have 6 to add to the already team. So you can have 18 team league. I think that's good. But I think you strike while the iron is hot. You have the popularity. You want the expansion fees to add to the coffers, to add to the money. Right. You want to be profitable. To say you bring in franchise, you bring in cities, and it's not like Paducah or Toledo. It's Philadelphia, Chicago, and Detroit. It's 3 major markets, right? You bring back Houston, you automatically have a fan base there from parents or grandparents. I remember when Cynthia Hugh Cooper used to light that shit up. Philadelphia, and they played games. I think was it the Philly game? Unrivaled played in Philly. They sold that out, right?
And you still kind of get the liberty. You still have a rival to New York. Now that you lost Connecticut to Houston, so yeah, I like it.
Right, you got Chicago, Indiana, rivalry right there, right? I feel like the idea, and I know his thing was like, Seattle, more teams tanking. Seattle and Vegas are going to tank too. So you have more teams tanking because they're going to come in, have their bullshit expansion team and be like, oh, they picked up, I'm trying to think of a really shitty player on the Knicks right now. Jeremy Sochan, first pick in the expansion draft. I feel like if the WNBA is hot, they got to do this now. Do it now, and then, like you said, be done with it. No more expansion after 2030. It's okay. But to say it's a money grab, they're making money now. So you get that $350 million expansion fee and add it to the books. And like, we just made close to $1 billion with 3 new teams.
You know what's hilarious about this too? He's probably a little salty. 1, Boston doesn't get a team. The Connecticut didn't go to Boston. And two, technically the Lakers / Boston of the original WNBA is now back. So it's a double whammy.
Bruce, what's going on? All the cities are basketball cities.
That's right? A fact. That's a fact.
Like I said, you're not going to goddamn. They're not playing at Hinkle Fieldhouse.
We're not going to Memphis. We're not going to Memphis.
Sidebar. There's a social media person called G-Fed. He sneaks into college football stadiums all the time.
I love that channel.
And he was like, he went to all the hotels in Memphis that they were all talking shit about and said, it ain't that bad. And Pat jumped on his ass. I was like, Pat pissed that G fan. What the hell?
Oh,
He's like, it's not that bad in Memphis. This is a nice hotel. He did Memphis, and I think he did another place. What was the other place he just did? I want to say Memphis and not Chicago, Milwaukee. Because Memphis and Milwaukee seem to be the two most hated places that NBA players hate going. I don't know why, but Milwaukee, I can see why Milwaukee would suck. Memphis just seemed like a chill spot if you ain't doing shit, if you just on your own shit and stay away from the bullshit. I don't know why, right? And LeBron hating Memphis. I'm like, damn, Nashville, bro? You would have moved to Nashville?
No, that's a bad who gives no shits anymore.
Listen, he on that senior ride. He said, I got like a year left. I don't give a shit.
I'm getting all this off my chest.
Well, I just love that whole thing with him and Matt Barnes, and then Jason Whitlock jumped in, and then I'm like, what am I? Then the guy from FS1, Mike something, he jumped in. So I'm like, so all the black sports guys is hitting each other. I'm like, so did we forget about Clay Travis, Outkick, and Colin Cowherd? We're just gonna not talk about them. We're just gonna hit each other. Is what we're doing now. It was the damnedest thing to watch. Way. It was the damnedest thing to watch. So we did 42 minutes of WNBA news, by the way, besides those 2 minutes of sidebar. But it's been crazy.
It's been crazy.
We said it was going to be crazy when they signed that CBA, and like this season starting on time. We knew it was going to be crazy, and this is I've been so intrigued.
I'm still amazed. I'm still amazed at starting on time. By the way, still amazed.
Listen, training camp starting on time, season starting on time. I'm shocked, and it's going all without a hitch. There's been no major issues. No one's bitching and moaning about anything. Everybody getting their money, which is very important. Everybody getting paid.
Did you notice the commissioner did not get booed last night?
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for boo. I was waiting for some David Stern type shit. Didn't get it. I was a little upset about it. Not gonna lie, I was a little pissed. I'm like, if anyone deserves to get booed, not Roger Goodell, her completely.
But that goes to show you the progress that women's basketball has made, where the fans are like, you know what? We have a season. It's an anniversary season.
I know.
Let's play ball.
Well, first of all, their 30-year PR campaign is fire. Well, all the old heads. Like, you saw Cheryl Swoops. I'm like, oh, is that Cheryl Swoops? Damn, okay.
Holding the goat. Holding the baby goat. Oh,
okay. I like where this is going. I like where this is going, so I'm going to respect that. Obviously, we'll be back on Thursday for the actual playoff preview, but we have the playoffs tonight and tomorrow night with the NBA play-in. Right now at halftime, the Heat on top of the Hornets. The Heat 11 play-in games, 54-52.
What we said about the Heat, they're the Johnny. The
CT, the CT of the challenge.
They love it. They love it. They love this.
The winner of this game faces the loser of tomorrow's game between the Sixers and the Magic, the 7-8 matchup. Tonight's winner of the late game, Trailblazers Suns, they get the 7 seed and face the
Spurs.
Right? Spurs. Yeah.
Yep.
I was going back and forth. I'm like, who's second? Because I know Thunder was one. I'm like, the Spurs keep it. Because I know Wemby got hurt. Wemby came back in like 2 days from like a fractured rib. I'm like, all right, I'm good with that. So based on this game right now, it's at halftime. Heat Hornets. Hornets' biggest story in basketball right now. Do they overtake the Heat, or do the Heat continue on in their normal spot?
Since the Hornets like jack up threes, I think the Hornets are going to find a way. However, when it comes to playing games, nobody plays them harder or better than the Heat. So I'm going to say the Heat advance. It sucks. Again, Orlando screwed everybody with that poor performance in Boston. So I think the Heat is going to advance, even though Charlotte had a tremendous second half of the season.
And then later tonight, Trailblazers Suns. Who do you got?
I got the Trailblazers.
Really?
I think they upset the Suns.
No shit. Trailblazers Chauncey Billups Trailblazers. Who would have thought 6 months ago that the Trailblazers will be in this position at all after their coach gets arrested for gambling?
No idea.
Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it?
What add to that? I'm probably gonna watch the Jailblazers documentary on Netflix tonight.
No, it came out today. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh, I might wait for the weekend. I gotta wait for the weekend. Bruce's updated. Bam got hurt. Hornets could win.
Oh,
so that live update. Bam's out.
Who would be a better matchup for the Boston? I wouldn't mind watching. I wouldn't mind Charlotte. I wouldn't mind seeing Charlotte Detroit. Like that would be a very interesting one.
Two young, hungry, dirty ass teams.
Sign me up for that because I don't think it'd be a gentleman's sweep either. I think it might be going 6.
I think the Hornets can steal 2 games from Detroit, and it'll weaken Detroit going into the second round because the Hornets won't just roll over. It'll be close. Mm-hmm. It'll be 6 close games, so I can see that happening.
Only one team in the East rolling over, and that's the team up north, Toronto. I think
poor Toronto. Poor Toronto. Magic Sixers tomorrow night. That's your first game on Prime Video. Bullshit. Who do you got? Sixers or Magic? Sixers.
I'll take the Magic.
Embiid's not playing.
Right?
Yeah, he's not playing, right? Magic. Yeah, I see the Magic winning that one. The game tomorrow night, the late game, Clippers Warriors. This is the most intriguing one because Steph Curry will be on a minutes restriction.
Wow.
Against the Clippers, with Kawhi, who's playing his best basketball, investigation and all. I really want to say Warriors. I know Bruce just said Clippers in the chat. I want to say Warriors, but I really do think Steph being on that 25, 26-minute restriction is really going to hurt them.
I'm not only going to say the Clippers are going to win, but the Warriors will finish in the top 4 of the lottery because that's how I feel about this whole thing. Somebody in this plane is going to finish in the top 4, and my money is the Golden State.
I'm curious on what Golden State does going forward. Because I don't think Steph is there next year. Draymond starts some shit again, walking away from the huddle again. The way the team is constructed is so bad. And nothing makes sense. And they almost refuse to kind of begin to rebuild. Like, obviously, you can't just rebuild when you have Steph Curry. But they almost kind of refuse to start hey, who's the heir? We got to start figuring out, like, what's next. And this is what happens with teams when you have stars. Look at Kobe, right? The Lakers could not get out of their own way with Kobe. Kobe retired, and they're like, now what? Right?
You know how this is ending. This is ending two ways. It's either LeBron has a swan song season over there, and they become a band of misfits with LeBron, Curry, Butler, Draymond, and whoever else they get a veteran minimum. Or it's really time to blow up this team, and that might be a year away where Curry finds himself back home in Charlotte. But this is not going to be a happy ending either way.
Yeah, and I feel bad. I feel like Steph would rather retire than go someplace else. I feel like that's going to be probably the ultimate end game.
Sure?
Steph going he can play. He can go and play in Charlotte, but I think that's the end game. The end game is like if you play for one team, you would play for your father's team in Charlotte. I think you said that before too. Mm-hmm. That would be the only way this could end amicably and with some heart to it, not just him going to damn Houston with Kevin Durant trying to win.
I don't see that. I don't see that. I think he's going back home, or like you said, retire a Warrior.
Yeah,
either way, he's going to get a statue in front of the arena one day.
Yeah, not in front of the Oakland Arena, unfortunately, in front of the Chase Center.
Somebody will plant a bobblehead there. Don't you worry.
Right in that parking lot where nothing happens anymore. No team in either place. Love it. Bruce advertising tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow for Armchair for more details. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Armchairing. So he'll have the results of tonight's games. We'll talk about tomorrow's games and look forward. Before we go, we talked about the lottery just now. The Chicago Bulls fired Executive VP of Basketball Operations Arturas Karnisovas, who Seton Hall. What's up? Terry DeHare, 90 Seton Hall. And General Manager Mark Eversley, following a 224 and 254 record over 6 seasons. I've never wanted a team to not get a good draft pick more than the Bulls because they don't deserve it.
The Bulls and the Heat, man, they're perennial playing and the playing, and the Bulls didn't make it to the playing this year. So.
The moves they've made, and obviously we're not Chicago based, but I have a soft spot for AK because I grew up watching AK and Terry DeHare and Luther Wright in Seton Hall, 1993, 94, 95. So I have a soft spot for him. But Jaden Ivey, Ivy Durant. Wait, which one? Which was the Christian guy? I'm
Ivy, you had it right. You had it right.
I thought it was right. Yeah. Jaden Ivey. You made all these trades, and we were on for trade deadline day. You made all these trades, and the best you got was a second-round pick swap. You traded Zach LaVine for nothing. You traded Nikola Vucevic for nothing. You got Vucevic thinking we're going all in. Vucevic, Zach LaVine. That's the combination, and you do nothing. I've never wanted a team not to get a high draft pick more than Chicago Bulls. On it just the sheer mismanagement of this team has been laughable, and has a Bull hater from childhood because they messed my Knicks up for years and years and years. It brought joy to my heart to see them suck so bad, but to see two men not compliment each other enough to offset each other's shit moves and just get worse and worse and worse. It is mind-boggling how you listen to Chicago radio when they got fired. It was like D-Day in the United States in 1941. The excitement that Bulls fans felt. It was insane. So
I mean, they haven't sniffed anything since Rose.
I mean, listen, I will say the Bulls fans have no love for me for booing Jerry Krause's family during the anniversary of the championships because he was dead, and they're like, Jerry Krause, boo! And his wife's like, what the hell? he's not here. But I feel bad for them because they sat through 6 years of nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Dalen Terry, they drafted high. He did nothing. Got rid of him. He's bounced around a couple times. You get a center who doesn't like to go low. Vucevic just shoot threes. LaVine shot 30 times a game. Didn't do anything. Like, I've never seen a team so.
Zach LaVine, one of the many names we have not called upon this year.
Yeah, he's in purgatory. Sacramento is just like, that's where dreams go to die at this point. It's the worst place in the world. But it's hilarious to see this team and how bad it is. I almost can compare them to the way Isaiah Thomas ran the Knicks for that 3-year span. I think we're at that, and Eddie Curry's a Bull too, so it kind of all intersects somehow.
All intersects, yep.
But I could almost compare. I thought no one ran a team worse than Isaiah Thomas. I think AK Mark Eversley beats Isaiah, bar none, leaps and bounds.
With all that said, Bulls probably get the number 1 pick, right?
I know. But there's no consensus number 1 because everyone's like, do you get AJ or do you get the guy who cramped up every game in Kansas? So what do you do?
Very interesting. Or do you get do you bring Boozer back? You had a Boozer once. You don't know.
Jesus Christ! This is run the Boozer family back to Chicago. Shay says, "Always great show, bro."
Likewise.
So we got armchairing tomorrow night. every Wednesday here, 8 p.m. on the One Podcast Network. We'll be back on Thursday night, 2 shows of the week, which we never do. But I was too damn tired Sunday to do a show. I was exhausted. So
it happens. It happens.
Tuesday, Thursday this week. We're back Thursday previewing the NBA playoff matchups. They won't be officially official, but we'll know some of the matchups. We can kind of predict the rest. So we'll preview the NBA playoff action for this weekend. It starts, and transfer portal starting. So we'll probably talk about that shit because it's already blowing up. I'm trying to catch up, so we'll talk about that on Thursday as well. So for Jason, I'm Kahlil. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on Thursday. Next episode of the Box Out. Peace.
Peace.
This has been The Box Out with Kahlil Thomas and Jason Kortner. Subscribe now for the best tri-state area basketball talk.